This 911 Strong podcast is brought to you by our partners at the Police Credit Union of California.
As a financial institution founded by law enforcement for law enforcement and their families over 65 years ago, they have the experience and understanding to help you with all your financial needs,
including exclusive products designed specifically for law enforcement professionals. To become a member today, visit thepolicecu.org. That's the police, the letter C, and the letter U.org.
Or call 800-222-1391 and tell them you heard about them from the 911 Strong podcast.
Station to all units.
Prepare to copy.
You're listening to the 911 Strong podcast.
Don't act like I never told you.
With Aram and Kristen, bringing you stimulating discussion.
No, I like the sound of that.
An entertaining conversation.
And now, here's Kristen and Aram.
Hey friends, welcome back to the 911 Strong podcast. My name is Aram Cho, and with me, as always, is Dispatcher Kristen. What's going on, Kristen?
Hi, nothing much. Trying to stay warm.
Yeah, I know. Are you getting any snow, or is it just rain?
No snow, just rain. Lots of rain.
No snow, just rain.
Yeah.
Lots of wind?
No wind yet, thankfully. Just rain.
Okay. Well, speaking of windy and rain, our next guest comes from an area where he's all too familiar with that, and that's the Philadelphia area. You may know his name by Jonny Castro Art on social media, but we know him as Jonny Castro. With us today is Jonny Castro. How's it going, Jonny?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Thank you very much for having me here.
Awesome. Well, it's our pleasure. It's really an honor, actually. We'll get into that, why it's such an honor. But just to give our listeners an idea of who you are, Jonny Castro is an officer from the Philadelphia Police Department. He's currently assigned to the forensic art? Am I saying it right? Section?
It's the graphic arts unit, but I'm a forensic artist for the department. Yeah. There you
go. You're a forensic artist for the graphic arts department. You know, one of these days I'm going to be a professional and figure this out. What's interesting about you is, and the reason why you've gotten a lot of notoriety is you've taken your talents as a forensic artist, but you've always had a knack in art. Actually, it runs in your family. And you made really nice portraits of victims of gun violence and officers killed in the line of duty. And you put them on display for the public for awareness. But you also do something interesting. You give those portraits to the survivors or the families free of charge. And I think that's what's endearing a lot of people to Jonny. And so that's a little bit about you. Now, am I missing anything important?
No, I think you covered it. Yeah, it's pretty much sums up what I do, and it's why I do it. So it's nice.
Awesome. Okay, well that does it for this episode of the 911. I actually saw your art years before I started following you. I didn't know that, because what a lot of people do is they'll share your stuff, and a lot of the people I follow are in the police world, and I never thought to find out who the person was behind the art, and it wasn't until you had reached out to me, I believe, when Sergeant Mike Paredes and Officer Joseph Santana from our department were killed in June of 2022. And you really do take the time to get detailed information to make those photos personal. And I'm like, hey, there's the guy, the source behind it all. And I followed you back immediately. And the stuff you put out there is I'm not an art appreciated a guy that appreciates art per se, but I really do appreciate what you put out there.
It's incredible.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I always like to reach out to somebody in the department before I post these, just to make sure everything's accurate, whether it's badges, pins, uniform. There's a lot of stuff I can't find on social media. So, when I reached out to you, hey, would you take a look at this, make sure it looks good and everything. So right. I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate you sharing it. I appreciate making sure everybody from your department saw it as well. So it was very nice of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a huge honor to have you do that. Can I ask you how you got, just on some of the research I did, I understand that your dad was an incredible artist and you kind of picked that up from him. But were you always kind of doodling around as a child?
Yeah. I was always the nerd in school. Like, everyone was playing sports, everybody was doing this, but I was just always, I had my head in a sketchbook, drawing. My kids are the same way. My 13-year-old is insane. Like, she's way better than I was at 13. So I would imagine by the time she's 21, she's going to be ridiculous. But yeah, so I've always just been drawing. I stopped for a while. Like, I went to art college, and then I dropped out after 9/11 to join the Army and go fight, and came home, became a cop. So there was like a period of maybe 10, 12 years where I didn't even pick up a pencil or anything. And then one day I just picked it back up again, and it's like I left off right where I was. So.
Wow, that's awesome. You joined the Army. You entered the military police unit, right?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't a military police officer. I was an armorer, so I would fix weapons.
Oh, okay.
And I got pulled. I was the only person out of my unit to get pulled to go to a military police unit because they needed bodies. So I got pulled, went over there. They trained me for military police, so I did all that for 13 months over there, actually at the Abu Ghraib prison. And then when I came home, I pretty much became a Philly police officer within months of coming home. So there was just like never any downtime of service.
Did you always have an idea that you were going to enter service? I mean, the reason why I ask is because we have some similarities. Your dad was a Vietnam vet. My dad was a Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
And I always had the idea I was going to join the Army as well. My grandfather was in the Army. Both his brothers were. And I thought that's where I was going to go. But actually, when I went to college, I was actually going to enlist after high school, but they told me go to college because your life in the Army would be much better with a degree. And that was ultimately the demise. I ran into a recruiter, and I became a police officer. But did you always have that sense of service?
Yeah, I just remember after 9/11 and talking to my dad about it, he was like, he told me that a lot of the stuff that he did over in Vietnam, which was, a lot of crazy stuff happened to him, happened to his unit. But he said, he wouldn't take it back for anything. Like it made him who he was. And I always respected that. And I just joined up to serve it, in some capacity, after that. And fortunately I did get to go over there. I did get to fight, and I made it home, but, I didn't know I was going to become a police officer. I just decided with that military police training that, maybe I could just continue service in law enforcement, and it worked out.
That's pretty awesome. What was the transition like from military life to civilian life? And was it pretty seamless between military and Philadelphia police, or was it? Did you have some time?
Yeah, I had a little bit of time. Like, I came home in December, and then I applied in the summer and got the job almost right away. Like, I started the police academy in the fall, so there was a few months of downtime, which I think everybody that doesn't come at deployment needs. I don't believe you should go right back into your work or whatever kind of career it is. But that was nice to just spend some time with my family and actually start a family, and then go right into the police academy, because there was a lot of people in the police academy that did the same thing. They served, because it was big. Either you went to Iraq or you went to Afghanistan. So a lot of these vets were coming home and getting jobs in the police department. So.
Yeah, that was a crazy time. I joined the academy in '99, and I met my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, about a year after I became a deputy. So it was right around right before 9/11. It was 2001 in the spring, and then my roommate and I were going to enlist. We're done. We were part of a large sheriff's department, LA County Sheriff's Department, and they had. They could freeze your position while you go serve. And my wife, or my girlfriend at the time, was like, I'm not going to wait for you. I'm like, why? She's like, yeah, I mean, we've been dating for a couple months. We're not that serious. Don't expect, you're going to be gone. You're going to fight a war. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I get that. And I'm like, I want her to be my wife. I knew, like, the first day I met her, I was going to marry her. And, she... I don't want to say she gave me an ultimatum, but she kind of did, huh?
She knows what she wants.
Yeah.
And what she won't put up with.
Yeah. But it worked out.
And everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, she did convince me that, the war needed to be fought at the home front, too. And there was some domestic stuff here. And I was part of a large department that had a large terrorist liaison unit. And we were active here in L.A. So it all worked out. I'm still married to her, so Not that bad.
Good, man. Congratulations. You've been with it that long.
Thank you.
So how many years
All right.
after being in the academy, or I guess in the police force, did you start picking up your pencil and start drawing again? And what led you to be doing fallen officers and military?
I
Sorry.
joined in 2006. So I worked from 2006 to 2015 on the streets, almost 10 years. And I worked in West Philly, which is probably one of the more active, one of the more busier areas. A lot of gun violence out there. But so I had the experience, and then the guy that did the job before me, our forensic artist, he did this job for like 36 years. So when I found out he was retiring, I put in my transfer here. So they wanted a portfolio. They wanted to see what kind of stuff I could do. And I hadn't drawn in like forever. So for like a month straight, I did nothing but draw. I just drew portraits, drew everything. And this was before digital art. I had no idea how to do anything with digital. So it was all pencils, charcoal. And I brought it in, showed the supervisor here, showed the guy, and then I did a live sketch of the suspect. And they said thank you, and I went on my way. So I went back on the street for almost a year, and then one day they just called me on a Friday, and they're like, "Hey, you start Monday," and like no training, no nothing.
Jeez.
And I started Monday. So from that point on to now, everything I've learned is self-taught with forensics. So watching YouTube videos, reading books, even digital art was just watching any type of YouTube video on how they do it, how to set everything up, how it works. And so everything is just self-taught since then.
Wow. And you're the only one in that unit?
Yeah. There's another guy who does it, but he mainly does something else. He, like any patrol cars that come in, they're like straight white police cars. He puts all the decals, the stripes and everything on it. So he does that, and I do this. So then if there's like something where one of us is sick or out or something, we might work and vice versa. But for the most part, it's just me down here doing that.
Well, that's pretty cool. You work the streets, in West Philadelphia for about 9 years, and I'd imagine, you had some days where you're just rocking and rolling, and now you get to do both jobs, right? You get to meld both passions together. And does it even feel like work anymore?
No, it's cool. It's just like anytime I'm doing the forensic work, I'm working, and then when I'm not doing that, I'm at home and I'm painting these portraits. I'm still working because I'm brushing up on all my skills that I would do here in the office. So it's I'm very grateful and blessed that I fell into this job, because if I was still out on the street, I don't know that I would still be doing that. I would maybe try to get out of Philadelphia and maybe try a township or something, but I like where I'm at right now, so I plan on being here indefinitely.
Can you kind of walk us through what the process is? I've been in investigations for a while, and we've had utilized forensic artists to do sketches of suspects and whatnot. And I think the process is fascinating, but I don't think our audience generally knows how that works. Can you kind of walk us through how you develop, how you get someone to talk and give them visuals and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, my office here it's decorated with tons of stuff, toys and stuff that I collect, autographs and everything. So it gives them some sort of like a comfortability factor where they could come in and feel relaxed and everything and just talk. So you're basically just talking to these people about what they saw, what they witnessed, what happened. A lot of times it's children, victims of sexual assault. So you have to kind of make them feel relaxed to give you some of that information to put down on paper. But so my process is I have all these features isolated. So there's pages of eyes, pages of noses, pages of mouths, head shapes, hair. So we'll go through the list one by one, and I would have them pick out what eyes look the closest, what nose looks the closest, and then we start drawing it, laying it out. So originally I started doing it with just pencils, which is hard because if they say the eyes are too far apart, you got to kind of erase the eyes and then rework everything, and it would take forever. But now with the whole digital art, it's the simple act of just taking what you've drawn, isolate it, and moving it closer, and it takes seconds, and you fixed it. So once we have everything down, we start adjusting everything, and then you just wait for them to be like, that's the guy, that's the person, that looks good. That gets sent off to the investigators. They put it on the flyer, they put it on the news, and then you just wait. But for the most part, a lot of these jobs aren't solved with forensic art. They're solved with cameras. They're solved with DNA. They're solved with pinging cell phones. Just modern day technology. But 20 years ago, this unit we were doing, not me, but this unit was doing 300 sketches a year. We don't do nowhere near that now. So, but anytime they do come in, I'm very I love it because I don't get to do it as much as I would like. So,
yeah, it's crazy how it's advanced.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And with all the technology and cameras just about everywhere, you would think, but we have a lot of instances. We have some instances where technology just isn't there, and we rely on forensic artists to come up with these sketches. Now, when you're done with your drawing, and you line them up with the suspect, they're surprisingly close, aren't they?
They are. It's still, when I see it, it's still. I'm surprised by it. I'm like, wow,
yeah.
It looks exactly like them. And I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't, and it's no one's fault. I mean, sometimes the victim thinks they maybe have seen something that they didn't see, or maybe there's two witnesses, and maybe at some point they spoke to each other, and one witnesses what they saw. Anyway, it's not just the victims and witness statements. A lot of times it's homicide victims or victims that they don't have an identity to. They can't release a photo of the victim on the news. So I'll have to go to the morgue, or I'll have to look at more photos of these victims and try to put a face to what they have there. So a lot of times that works out really well too, because once they figure out the person, they'll do a side by side, and it looks pretty good. It looks spot on as well. So,
wow, that's great. I mean, because you're relying on witnesses and victims, and in the example you just gave us, just bits and pieces, and you've got to extract emotion from people too, right? I mean, a lot of times we know from talking to victims and witnesses, they don't always remember, what the person looks like, and you got to almost be cerebral with them, right, to extract details. That in of itself is kind of an art, isn't it? Yeah,
and it's hard. Sometimes people aren't vocal. Like sometimes they'll, maybe they don't feel comfortable talking to a stranger about what happened, or they just sometimes they'll just be like, yeah, that's him, just to get out of the office, because I mean these take time, and people don't like to sit in an office for 2-3 hours talking to me about the worst day of their life. So we just try to make it work, and a lot of times it does, a lot of times it doesn't.
Yeah, I think I would say it actually is sort of therapeutic, I would think, for the people that are reluctant to come in. I mean, I'd imagine talking things out probably helps. Do you ever get these people that come in and say, hey, actually that was helpful?
No, not necessarily. I think, personally, one of the best things I think that happened from a forensic sketch that I did was we had a homicide victim who he'd gotten shot multiple times, shot in the head, shot in the face. They couldn't release the photo, obviously, of who he was. He didn't have any IDs on him or anything, so I had to draw his picture from his autopsy photos. So the detective put that on the flyer, walked around, found somebody out there that knew who he was, that had a first name. He figured out who it was, and then notified his family because he wasn't from our area, notified his family who he was, and he got identified. His family was able to give him a funeral because of that. So, but talking to the family afterwards, like they were very grateful of that, because he would have just been here as an unidentified victim, forever if he wasn't able to get identified. So, but
right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you're doing some really important work out there in Philadelphia, and I think it's very unselfish of you to share the work that you do, because I mean, it's not just the Philadelphia area. You're doing this art for the entire United States, and in some cases, you're doing Canada. I think I read, and it's not just police, but it's just victims of violence, right? You create a lot of these portraits. How do you? Is that something that? Go ahead.
Well, it's like, what else am I going to do? I mean, I could. There's 100,000 other artists out there just drawing stuff for movies and TV shows and posting it, and nobody's doing this. It's just like,
right.
Yeah.
Why not? These people deserve to have their stories told. Their families deserve to have their portrait done. So, started it 7 years ago, and since then I've done over 1,200. And it's just nice. It's nice to get to meet these people, meet the families, meet the people who work with them, and get to talk to them about these people, just like your coworkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but there's got to be a little bit of passion involved, right? I mean, is it therapeutic for you? I mean, I'd imagine at some point, I don't want to say you get tired of it,
Or
but
emotionally draining at times.
Yeah, I mean,
like, here's more.
do you get emotionally involved in these photos?
There's a lot of the stories where you do, especially when it's, children, the children victims of crime. You read what happened to them, and it's because being a father, having kids of my own, that always hurts. Or when you hear these officers that are killed who have young children at home, or have a wife who's pregnant and they're about to have a child that's not going to have a father anymore. That stuff, it does get to you. But I mean, since I've been doing it for so long, it is therapeutic for me. I like to just go home, turn, have the TV off, just put on some music, and I start painting. I'll sit in front of the computer for 3-4 hours at night, wake up in the morning early for another hour or two just to get some more work done. It's just a way to pass the time and just get as much of these done as I can.
Yeah. And that's a different life, man. It's I think you've got that artistic mind. I think your mind works differently than most people, especially most people in this profession, right? Most people aren't doing that. They're not coming home and doing more work, but it's not really work to you. It's
the passion.
You're an artist. Yeah, you're doing art.
Yeah, I like doing it. I don't think I would stop doing it either. It's just something that I've become accustomed to, and I'll continue to do it as long as I can.
All right. I'm going to switch gears a little bit because I think this is important too. I mean, you're a hero. You joined the military during a tumultuous time in our nation, and you went to a pretty rough area outside of Baghdad. I'd imagine you saw some pretty gnarly stuff. Yeah.
It was the first couple years of the Iraq War. I mean, it didn't really matter where you were, but that area, Abu Ghraib, was a hot spot. I mean, our base was getting hit almost every day. 20 miles down the road was Fallujah, so I had just got there right after Fallujah happened, so it was that just whole area was. And anybody that went over there, I have so much respect for during that time, because that time was a bad time to be there. Yeah,
man, that's scary. I mean, thank you for your service, first of all.
Yes.
I mean, I was just watching it on TV. I really was chomping at the bit to get out there, but when I hear stories like that, I'm like, maybe I just, for whatever reason, I was destined to be here. But you said your assignment was as an armorer?
Yeah, well, it's I guess it falls under like supply, but
okay.
my main focus was the unit armor, so I would maintain weapons, the rifles, the light machine guns, and stuff like that. Just armor level stuff, not like anything crazy. So that's what I joined the Army and did. But once I went over there, I got reclassed as military police.
That's pretty awesome. Speaking of armory work, I don't know if you ever come out to LA, but I want to meet you. And if you ever come out this way, I'm going to take you to one of my favorite places to go and take people outside of California, in a place called Proforce. Proforce I know that you probably have gun shops out there, but I don't know if you have gun shops exclusively for first responders. Like, you have to ID your way in there. You can't just, the average, yeah. I mean, and this place is huge. I don't know how they stay in business, but it must be a lot of cops buying guns. But they do the same thing. They hire people just like you. So instead of going to Cabela's or Bass Pro Shop, where you might be trying to buy a gun off of someone that knows more about fly fishing or, bear hunting, these guys are people like you. They were armors in the military. They're veterans. They go out of their way to hire veterans and ex-police and so I feel more comfortable going to a place like that. It's kind of like going to a public range. You never really feel comfortable with the guy shooting next to you. I know when I walk into this place, I'm going to get told the right information. Nobody's going to say there's a flux capacitor in my pistol. They're going to know what they're talking about. So I'd love to take you there because I'm sure you might even have a lot in common with the people that work there. But yeah, next time you're out here, just remind me. I'll take you out to dinner. I want to shake your hand, and we'll take you to Proforce.
Sounds good, man. It's a date, dude. I'll do it.
Yeah, I've never been to Philadelphia. I don't travel much in the Northeast. I've never been to New York, never been to Philadelphia. Never really. The furthest northeast I went was D.C. And we have a big event coming up in April, Police Week.
Are you going to that?
I unfortunately will not be, but Kristen is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be there.
I think this is the first year they're not doing Tent City. The Tent City was always a big thing for me because I would set up and meet the families from the year before it, where I would paint their portraits. And
they're not.
I would meet hundreds and hundreds of family members. And last I checked, they weren't doing it. But I mean, they're doing everything else. Obviously the names on the wall, the candlelight vigil, they're doing all that. But it's just that's where I would meet all these family members. And if they had it this year, I'd probably meet the family members that I painted the portraits from Almonte for. But it's just, I don't think it's happening this year.
Oh,
well,
that's
if you're out there, I'm sure Kristen will lead the families towards you. She's one of the liaisons. We're going to have a big contingent out there. I just promoted, and so since I'm back in the bottom of the barrel, I'm staying behind to work.
Did you get promoted to lieutenant?
Lieutenant, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations, man. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Moving on up.
Moving on up. What's funny is you would think with a promotion it's, because it's more pay and more prestige, but it's a lot. The hardest part of my day is going to be figuring out what I'm going to watch on TV.
I guess it could be worse,
Yeah. No, I hope it's temporary because I feel like I'm like you. I probably, if I had time on my hands, I would, I would do work at work. So the watch commander, that's where we all start. The watch commander's not doing a whole lot. They're there just in case something happens. And, I feel like I'm best suited back in investigations. That's just that's my wheelhouse. And I'm itching to get back in there. So hopefully that'll happen. I feel like I don't want to say I'm talented, but I feel like my talents are being wasted. Right now, we're slated for 148, but we only have 112. So we've got about 36 positions that are not filled, and so we're hurting. I mean,
we're a smaller agency, though, too. So
yeah. So just to give you an idea, in LA County, there's 88 cities. Geographically, we're one of the smallest. We're the size of a postage stamp, 10.5 square miles. But population-wise, out of the 88 cities, we're the 8th largest in population. So we're densely populated. There's about 150,000 people that live in the city. When I got hired, we had like 160, 170 officers, and I think that was enough. We always wanted more, but budget curtailments and the economy, retirements, it's just been just like everywhere. It's hard to recruit and retain. It's gotten so desperate that the department that once told me to curb my social media is now asking me to recruit on social media. So that goes to show you where we are.
The times have changed. Yeah.
I think
I
don't know what the number is we're supposed to have, but we're nowhere near it. And it's just
right.
like you said, it's hard to recruit and it's hard to retain officers. A lot of officers are leaving, and a lot of people don't want the job anymore.
Yeah.
So it's.
I know.
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, does the department utilize you as kind of an ambassador to the Philly Police Department?
Not really. I mean, they support what I do. They always supported what I do, but
Yeah.
not for any like recruitment drives or anything like that. But
Yeah.
my department has been standing by me, standing by these portraits since the beginning. So they're great.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's important because it's not always the case, right? I mean, you hear stories on the news all the time of people doing extra work on the side. I mean, I understand like OnlyFans. We have female officers from I think it was LAPD who got in trouble for being on OnlyFans, but people are doing some legitimate side work and they have some legitimate talents, and it's just a shame when the department wants you to focus on just police work, and they suppress that, and that's what drives people away from doing this job. But I think you're lucky. I mean, you're able to be supported in your passion. And it's benefiting a lot of us. I mean, your stuff is worldwide. You're world famous. You have a huge following on social media, and it's. I think from a mental health perspective, it's very therapeutic. Just when we were talking out the artwork for Sergeant Paredes and Officer Santana, I thought, that was going to be something really special for the families when they have that.
Yeah.
'Cause it's amazing how you're able to capture something that's one-dimensional. You're able to capture so much image. And when I saw those pictures, I'm like, that's Mikey.
Yeah.
That's Joseph.
It really brings a lot of comfort to
much.
see that and see that somebody took the time just to capture, our coworkers and friends. And I don't know. It's nice to see that people acknowledge them, not just in our little circle, So it's really cool.
Yeah,
Actually, I have their pictures right there on our beer cans.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I remember the brewery had reached out about using the artwork for the, I guess it was a fundraiser or whatever event they had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They had sent me the pictures of the can, and I was like, that's the first time anyone's ever done that. So it was pretty cool to see that.
Wow.
Yeah, those things. So the brewery opened, I'm just guessing at a time. The brewery was supposed to open at, let's say, 6, and they said to come early because they were selling those in like a 4-pack. And those things were out in like less than an hour. Like everybody just bought them up. And we were all at our agency all trying to get like a piece of it because we just wanted everything that just captured our guys, So it meant a lot. It really did.
Yeah, if you come out here, so I couldn't get one. I was in line, and Kristen's like, "You're not going to get one." And they're down to like the last 10. And so she got a 4-pack, and she was nice enough to give me 2 of them. So those 2 are there, and I've got 2.
Mm-hmm.
But if you come out here, you're welcome to my house anytime, and I'll give you one. Because
I have 2 extras, so I can give them to you if you want.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Kristen's giving you hers.
Yeah.
It's all right. You guys can keep. I have their prints hanging up, so I'm good. I have this.
But you never had a beer can. You never had a beer can.
Yeah, but save that for you guys. You guys.
Like it's one extra thing.
All right. Well, we'll argue about it next time you come out here.
Do you have any In-N-Out burgers near you, or is that all in like?
Yes.
LA?
Oh, everywhere, everywhere here.
They're everywhere.
The last time I was in California was 2000, and I think it was right when I came home from Iraq. So like 2006, early 2006. So I was in Santa Barbara. I went to LA, San Diego, and everything. But that was the last time I was out there, and I would imagine it's so much different than it was. It's almost 20 years now. It's been 17 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a lot different.
There's still the areas you want to stay away from are still the areas you want to stay away from, but we're far away. We work 12 miles outside of downtown LA, so we still get that when we're at work. But where we live, it's gonna be a vacation for you, man.
Okay.
Have you had In-N-Out before?
I had. That was the last time I had it, and I remember it. I mean, I remember it being amazing, but
Yeah.
right. That just might be from because I've only had it once, and it was 17 years ago. But I would like to have it again. So.
Yeah, it's a debate. I don't know why they compare it to Whataburger, but we get people from Texas that say Whataburger is great. It beats In-N-Out hands down. I'm like, you're comparing 2 different things, man. It's like this is art. I mean, what you see in the advertisements is what you get when you get there. And
I've never had Whataburger either.
You don't. You're not missing out. It's not that
sad.
fantastic.
It looks like they made it, put it in newspaper, and someone sat on it right before they gave it to you. It's not even a compare. It's like an insult to compare the two together. It's just, I'd compare McDonald's to Whataburger, but there's nothing that comes close to In-N-Out, because In-N-Out, it's not.
What about Carl's Jr.? Is that any good?
Oh, Carl's Jr. is good. Do you guys have Hardee's out there?
No, but they air Carl's Jr. commercials on TV here, and there's literally none within like hundreds of miles. So I don't know.
Okay, so I mean, you're not missing much.
I had Carl's Jr. I had food poisoning, so I haven't eaten there since I've been
fast
17.
Right, like when you order when you order at McDonald's, it's already pre-made and under a warmer, and they give it to you, right? And that's the same thing with Burger King. It's the same thing with Carl's Jr. It's already pre-made. So I wouldn't even put it in a class with In-N-Out, because they don't make it till you order it. They don't have frozen burger patties. They ground their sirloin and they smash it there. I mean, I can't say enough. Are we being sponsored by In-N-Out? Because
I don't know.
I feel like that was some money right now.
My daughter used to work there, so we would always get In-N-Out.
I'm starving now. Now
we go to town at In-N-Out. Yeah. No.
You're gonna have
me
to
too.
come down here.
Me too. We go to town. My family, and you know what? There's a secret menu too that you probably didn't know about. So like, you order your double, right? That's your 2 patties, 2 pieces of cheese, lettuce, tomato, onion. But there's something called animal style. Did you know about that?
Yeah, I did. I got it. I got my fries animal style.
Oh, you got it.
But it's crazy.
Okay. So did you know? I don't know if you like spicy foods, but I asked for chopped chilies in mine. So I get mine animal style with chopped chilies. And it's just yellow peppers that they chop up and stick in there. And I get animal fries. Because the fries, I got to admit, if there's a critique about In-N-Out, it's their fries. They're fresh. They're the freshest fries you'll ever eat. But they taste like potato-flavored packing popcorn.
Like, they're not that bad.
Okay, I'm exaggerating. But if I could combine
really good.
Okay. Well,
I like their fries. I like Chick-fil-A
you either love their fries.
better,
Yes, exactly. I was going to say, if I can get Chick-fil-A fries or McDonald's fries and have them with an In-N-Out burger, I mean, that's a good meal right there.
How did we take our conversation all the way over
I don't know,
here?
but I'm going to send this episode to Lindsay Snyder. She's the CEO of In-N-Out, and I'm going to tell her she owes us some money here.
Yes.
Or
I imagine that
half
half the
package too of burgers.
Yeah.
Right.
About 50% of our listeners are commuters. So I'd imagine if they're listening to this episode while they're in the car right now, some of them are in the drive-through right now of In-N-Out and getting the food.
I envy them.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, we'll get, and they're working their way out there. What was it, Kristen? What state was it that they are building a headquarters in?
I don't know headquarters, but I think they opened up in Colorado, and I think they're in Nevada and Arizona.
No, somewhere further. I want to say it was like Missouri or something.
Oh
St.
my
Louis.
gosh. I don't know. We used to get the newsletters here because of Jason, but we don't get them anymore, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I did read that. It is Missouri. I think it's either Kansas City or it's.
Is it?
I think it's Kansas City or St. Louis. It's one of them, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, they're working their way out there, so they'll be in Philly. I'm sure.
They have to be expanding, I'm sure.
Yeah. We can't, just like you can't keep. Well, just like you can't keep your art to yourself, we can't keep In-N-Out. It's a California institution. We can't plug it all to ourselves. All right. Well, Jonny, it's been an extreme pleasure having you and meeting you and finally talking to you in person or virtually. The more I talk to you, the more I get the feeling you're a stand-up guy, and your heart is really represented in the art that you put out there. And I want other people to get to know you too. So outside of this podcast, where can they find you? Can they find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I'm my only 2 socials, but it's just Jonny Castro Art, no H. And you can find all these portraits there. I do maybe 3 a week. I try to do 3 a week, so 150 a year. And, you can go on there to see them. That's crazy.
Nice.
You put out quality stuff. And from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of my agency, thank you for the art that you did for Mikey and Joseph. It means a lot to us.
Yeah.
Pleasure,
Incredible
Thank
work.
you very
Thank
much.
you.
All right, our guest today was Jonny Castro from the Philadelphia Police Department. You can follow him at Jonny Castro Art, Jonny with no H, on Instagram and Facebook. And I want to tell you, I'm going to point you that way because I think it's worthwhile. All right, can't wait to have you again, and we'll get you flying out here to California one day so we can have that In-N-Out burger.
I'm excited.
All right. Well,
It's a deal.
that does it for this episode of the 911 Strong podcast. We appreciate listening, and we'd appreciate it if you shared this with your friends and family, because we rely on your word of mouth. If you like this episode, smash that like and follow button and share us with your friends, and we'll catch you next time on the 911 Strong podcast.